Hey y'all, hey. We're in Let the Circle Be Unbroken by Mildred D. Taylor for story time with more of my chapter 10. Let's get right into it. The words, the note, were like a shotgun blast. Silence settled over the dimly lit kitchen, and a terrible fear welled within me as we stood in our nightgowns, Mama, Big Ma, Suzella, and I, staring with disbelief at the piece of paper Mama held as if we could change what it said. It was the kind of nauseous, terrifying fear which had come when Papa had been shot and the men had come to lynch TJ. Now here it was again, coming without warning, enveloping my whole being and shattering the peace of the Sunday morning. Mama, most likely he just outside somewheres. Most likely, Big Ma agreed, not willing to believe it either. That child, he can't be gone. Her face looking drained under the light of the lamp. Mama glanced from Big Ma to me, and I could see she did not believe either of us. Cassie, do you know something? Her voice was an urgent demand. Did Stacy say anything at all to you about leaving? I shook my head and looked away. I did not want her to see my fear. What about you, Suzella? Anything? Suzella tried desperately to think of something, but finally she too said there was nothing. The door to the boys' room opened, and Christopher John and little man stepped out, blinking into the light. Morning, they said. Mama spoke to them, then quietly told them about Stacy. Gone? Questioned Christopher John, not understanding. Where? Out to the pasture with the cows? No, he's gone to find work. He's left home and we don't know where he is. Don't know? Exclaimed little man. What do you mean you don't know? Christopher John's eyes were round with fear, but he tried to comfort Mama. Oh, Mama, we find him. Stacy, he be round this place somewheres. Don't you worry now. Mama's eyes were soft on him, and for a moment I thought she was going to cry. But then, as if she were unafraid to let her feelings out, her face grew suddenly stern and the look of tears disappeared. Cassie, go get Mr. Morrison. Quick now. The rest of us better get dressed. We've got a lot of looking to do. I dashed out into the gray dawn, across the lawn, and through the gate. Mr. Morrison, I yelled as I ran. Mr. Morrison. Mr. Morrison's door opened and he stepped out, already dressed. Mr. Morrison. What is it, Cassie? I reached the porch and flung my arms around him. It's Stacy, Mr. Morrison. He's gone. Mama decided that the first person to whom she wanted to talk was Mo Turner. If anyone knew anything about Stacy's leaving, he would. Having begged to go with her, Christopher John, little man, and I climbed into the wagon, and the four of us headed toward Smellings Creek, while Mr. Morrison, riding Lady, went up the road toward Great Faith to see if families along the way knew anything that might help us. Big Ma and Suzella stayed behind to attend to the morning chores. Then they would go on to the church to wait for the rest of us. At the Turners, Mo's father shook his head despondently. I was just about to come see you, Miss Logan. I've been searching around here all morning. Mo, he gone off too. Mama's lips parted slightly, and for a moment she seemed unable to speak. Then they're together. Most likely so. Mr. Turner glanced around at his other children, bewilderment and fear on their faces. That boy, he always talking about leaving, making money, always dreaming. I expect I got to the place I just ain't paid much attention. Seems it was all I could do just to get them crops in and feed these here youngins. He wiped at his eyes, beginning to tear, and swallowed. Expect I should have listened more. Shoulda. Brother Turner, do you have any idea where Mo could have gone? Mr. Turner bowed his head, then looked back sorrowfully at Mama. No, ma'am, Miss Logan. Ain't got no idea. No idea at all. Mr. Turner said that he would start checking around the Smellings Creek area for word about Stacy and Mo, and we climbed back into the wagon and headed for Soldiers Road. Passing the Granger Road, we crossed to the Hopkins place where Mama questioned Clarence, but Clarence knew nothing. From Clarence's, we went directly to Great Faith, where a crowd was waiting as we pulled onto the grounds. The services forgotten, everyone gathered around the wagon in frenzied excitement, offering advice and consolation as Mama and Mr. Morrison tried to decide what to do next. You talked to little Willie? Mama asked Mr. Morrison. He could know something. Yes'm, he sure did. Yes'm, he sure did, little Willie spoke up, pushing his way to the front of the crowd. But Miss Logan, Mo and Stacy, they ain't said a thing to me about this. You sure? I mean, maybe there's something they said a while back about going. Anything, little Willie. Little Willie thought a moment, and after a glance at the shorter, shook his head. Miss Logan, tell you the truth, we all talk sometimes about going away getting a job. Once Mo says something or another about the cane fields, but that's about all. I say we ought to do here. I say what we ought to do here, put in Mr. Lanier, is get ourselves out to every place around here, white folks places too, and get to asking about them boys, see if anybody done seen them. Can't believe them youngins done gone off alone, Mrs. Lanier lamented. Nothing but babies. Mr. Wiggins looked over at Mr. Lanier. We better split up then, 'cause we all go through here. That's a lot of folks to cover. Me and my family, we'll take the Harrison plantation, then head on down towards Smellings Creek. Good idea, said Reverend Gapson. Better take more of your family with you, though. Get another group, and we go on up the road towards Strawberry. Another one go on back over to the Montier place and help out the Turners. Don't you worry now, sugar, Mrs. Wiggins said to Mama. We're going to have them boys back here for nightfall. Mama acknowledged her with a grateful smile. Well, if you all will check around here, then Mr. Morrison and I'll check in Strawberry. Strawberry, exclaimed Mrs. Leanne. Lord, child, you ain't thinking them youngest done gone that far. I think, Mama said softly, that maybe they could have gone even farther than that. More plans for the search were made. Then before everyone departed, all heads bowed in prayer, and Reverend Gapson, for once keeping it short, beseeched God to lead us to Stacy and Mo. Everyone said amen, and the search began. I love how they immediately came together. Ain't no service. We got some children in our community missing. We about to get on the search for them. Dust settled, and still Stacy had not come home. People returned from their appointed search routes, read the emptiness of the faces around them, and stayed, crowding the rooms and talking in low voices, waiting for the good news which would send them home. The Turners arrived, but they had no news either, and by the time the wagon rolled into the yard with only Mama and Mr. Morrison in it, we all recognized that there was to be no good news. Not this night. Mary, child, y'all ain't found out nothing? Big Ma said. Nothing at all? Questioned Mr. Turner. Weary and discouraged, Mama looked out at all the people waiting to hear. She put an arm around Little Man. There were men recruiting for the cane fields yesterday in Strawberry. Truck left out of there first thing this morning. We think maybe Stacy and Mo were on it. Lordy, cried Mr. Tom B. Them youngins gone to the cane fields and they lucky to get back here at all. Okay, let me reread that. Lordy, cried Mr. Tom B. Them youngins gone to the cane fields, then they be lucky to get back here at all. Hush your mouth, Tom B., ordered Mrs. Leanne. You want to upset these youngins more than they already is? I felt the day's fear slipping into a new terror. Mama, what we going to do now? She turned to look at me. I sent a telegram to your papa, she said. When he gets here, we'll know. In the middle of the night, I heard Little Man and Christopher John sobbing loudly and Mama trying to comfort them. I lay very still on my pallet, my eyes dry. I refused to cry. Crying would be like admitting Stacy was really gone, and he couldn't be gone. Not far, not for long. He just couldn't. When Papa came, he held Mama to him, then the rest of us, before shaking Mr. Morrison's hand and greeting Suzella. Looking tired from his long journey, he settled down to read the note and listen to all that we knew about Stacy's leaving. Most likely, if he's working cane, said Mr. Morrison, he in Louisiana somewheres. Papa nodded. But the thing is, we can't be sure. They got cane here, some of these other states too. But Louisiana, they the ones got them big cane plantations, Mr. Morrison contended. That's where they be needing the most choppers. You said nobody could tell you where that truck was headed? From what we could gather, Mama said, looking exhausted from so little sleep, the cane people never really said. Just said the pay was $8 a week, and for anyone who wanted to work to be in front of the Mercantile on Sunday morning or at the Wallace store. Evidently, the truck came right down through here. Papa ran the flat of his hand over his head and was very quiet. When he spoke again, he said, I called Hammer. Soon as he get here, we'll go looking. Take the main road out of here and ask along the way if folks know anything about transport trucks to the cane plantations. You know, Mr. Morrison said, I should have seen it coming. Him so worried about the crops and all. Don't go blaming yourself now. It surely ain't your fault. Mr. Morrison nodded. That boy, you know he meant an awful lot to me, too. I know, Papa said. You gonna bring Stacy on back, ain't you, Papa? Asked the confident Christopher John. Ain't you? I'm gonna try, son. I'm gonna try. Uncle Hammer arrived that same evening, and without taking time to rest, he and Papa climbed into the Ford and left again. We watched as the car sped away, the autumn sunset casting a pale glow upon it. We watched and we waited. Cassie, where you going? I didn't answer Christopher John as I plunged into the forest. Wait up, Cassie, he hollered, following with Little Man. I ran faster, past the gray bark sweet gums and the wintry smelling pines, past the stately black oaks and the nut-laden hickories. Near the pond, I stopped and flung. Y'all hear that description? That's what I like about reading. I'm a nurture girl too, so that's why it stood out to me. But listen to the details that this author is using. I ran faster past the gray bark sweet gums and the wintry smelling pines, past the stately black oaks and the nut-laden hickories. Near the pond, I stopped and flung my arms around a massive pine, needing its comfort. Okay, get you some tree hugging going on. I felt the rough of its bark against my skin. I wanted to wail out my sorrow to it, but hearing Christopher John, the little man, I tore away from the tree and ran on. By the time Christopher John, the little man, reached me, I was sitting on the bank of the pond. They looked at me in silence and collapsed beside me. For a while, we were all quiet. Then little man said, "Why'd he go, huh? That's what I want to know." He took a pebble and threw it angrily into the pond. "How come Stacy just gone off like he done? Ain't even said goodbye or nothing. He got tired being with us or what? Huh? Don't he care?" I felt the same anger, but feeling it my duty as the eldest now to try and comfort him, I said, "He cares. He just thought he was doing what he had to do, I guess." "Sure did." "Oh, sure he did," confirmed Christopher John. "Stacy, he probably figured he had to go, that it was the best thing." "Well, why didn't he take us with him then?" "Boy, he probably had a hard enough times just to get out of here himself," I explained irritably. "How you expect him to be worried about you too?" Little man looked away, hurt. "I wouldn't have been no trouble." I felt his pain. "I know." We heard someone coming from the east and looked out over the pond, waiting. After several moments, Jeremy Sims appeared. He waved, and when he reached the pond, settled beside us. He had heard about Stacy. "He'll be back, you know. He'll be all right, too." He caught the misgivings in our eyes and chastised us gently for our poor faith. "Y'all ain't give up, have you? Why, Stacy, he gone all the way to Louisiana by himself over 2 years ago now, and he was a lot younger then. Y'all forgotten that?" It took us a moment, but we finally said we hadn't. "Then don't," he ordered, leaning back on his elbows. "Stacy, he can take care of himself all right." When Stacy went to Louisiana by himself 2 years ago? We ain't read about that. That makes a big difference. With Jeremy, we did not have to talk when we had no more words to say, and now, as he grew quiet, we grew quiet as well. Around us, the world of green trees, reaching toward blue skies, sang a sad song in the soft breeze, sharing our loneliness. Forgotten for the moment was the work waiting for us, as tree boughs fanned above us and birds silhouetted like dark messengers against the sky called out to invite us to go with them. I thought of the everyday times Stacy had sat here with us, watching the same trees in the same sky, and as the birds flew away, taking their messages with them, I wondered if he ever would again. A week after Stacy left, school started, and for the first time, we walked the red road without him. Suzella had received a letter from Cousin Bud saying that she would have to stay a while longer, and she enrolled the first day at Great Faith as a 10th grader. But by the end of the day, it had become painfully clear to her teacher that Suzella's educational level was much too advanced for the class, and she would skip to the 11th, 12th grade class under the instruction of Mr. Wellever himself. In addition to her promotion, Suzella had her New York lessons to keep up with, and she juggled her study time between lessons from Great Faith and lessons sent from St. Anne's, which Mama helped her with. Being in the 6th grade this year, I found myself in Mrs. Mabel Thompson's class. Mrs. Thompson seemed satisfactory enough. I felt nothing for her one way or the other. Little man was fortunate enough to have Miss Rosella Sayers, a young teacher from Jackson, but poor Christopher John, now in the 4th grade, had fallen into the hands of Miss Daisy Crocker. I greatly sympathized with him, but as in everything else, Christopher John tried to see the bright side in having to face such a shrew each morning. "Maybe she didn't change," he said, hopefully on the first day of school. However, when classes were over, he was noticeably quiet. "Well," I asked him. He shrugged dejectedly and admitted, "She's still the same." No doubt she was. Certainly little else seemed to be. Without Stacy, nothing much was the same. The days passed, with each day growing longer than the day before. Every day, little man and Christopher John stared out the window, watching the road, waiting for Stacy, who never came. Every day on the way to school, we listened anxiously for any sound on the road, a car, a wagon, footsteps that might bring news of him. In the mornings, I awoke with the dread of Stacy's absence hanging in the air, and throughout each day, I was consumed with the hope of seeing him walking in that loping gait of his past, walking in that loping gait of his past. Let me slow down. In the mornings, I awoke with the dread of Stacy's absence hanging in the air, and throughout each day, I was consumed with the hope of seeing him walking in that loping gait of his past past the old oak and the cotton fields and up the drive. Good Lord. But then each night, I went to bed feeling helpless once again and angry. Angry at the cane people for coming to Strawberry, waving their $8 offer under the noses of needy boys, and angry at Stacy for leaving us. Through 1 week, we waited, then 2. In the middle of the 3rd week, Papa and Uncle Hammer returned. Stacy wasn't with them. How many places you go to? Mama questioned as we sat at the kitchen table. Wasn't there anyone who could tell you something? Papa put down his coffee. Unshaven, eyes bloodshot, both he and Uncle Hammer looked exhausted. Seems there's men that just make a business of getting workers for the cane fields. They ain't hired by the plantation owners. They just get the workers, bring them to the plantations, get their money, and go on. Usually, most of them don't take boys young as Stacy and Mo. Well, you talked to some of them, didn't you? There was an unexpected harshness to Mama's voice, and Papa noticed it, as we all did. Some, but ones we talked to claimed they would have known if they carried Stacy or not, since they don't keep any lists. Then, too, they said that just about anybody with a truck for hire could take up the business of trucking people to the fields. It'd be near impossible finding them all. Besides that, added Uncle Hammer, sometimes they keep the workers moving, taking them from plantation to plantation, chopping cane. Mama accepted this in silence. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then she looked at Papa. When are you going out again? Uncle Hammer glanced over at Papa. Papa met the glance, then put his hand over Mama's. Honey, you got any idea how many people grow cane? You saying it matters how many? It's going to have to matter. Well, I don't care how many there are. I want Stacy back in his house. Married. When, David? Right now, I don't see much point. Much point? Your son is out there somewhere. Don't you think I know that? But we don't know where to look. Leastways, we'll know by the postmark about where he is. Mama pulled away from him. You don't want to go looking for him. Okay, Mama pulled away from him. You don't want to go looking for him? I will. Mary, use some sense. He's been gone too long, David, and I'm not going to rest till he's back in this house. A look of accusation was in Mama's eyes. Saying nothing else, she rose abruptly and left the room. Big Ma patted Papa's arm. You're going to have to be patient with her, son. It's hard on her. She think it ain't hard on me? She be all right. I'll go talk to her. Then Big Ma, too, got up. Papa watched her leave, shook his head, and sighed. It was late when I heard their voices. Unable to sleep, I had left my pallet and sat in a chair by the open window. As I stared out into the blackness, listening to the sounds of the crickets and the katydids, I heard the door to Mama and Papa's room open and close, and shortly afterward, the opening and closing of the door to the boys' room. Thought I heard you out here, Uncle Hammer said in a low voice. Couldn't sleep. Me either. There was a silence. Then Uncle Hammer said, David, I'm going to leave my car here. What? Going to leave my car. That way you can find out anything, you can go see about it. Man, what I'm going to hear? I tell you, Hammer, I don't know how much to fault myself and how much to fault Stacy and how much to fault the times. But I'll tell you something else. Much as I love Stacy and want him home, I can't help feeling sometimes like he was old enough to go off by himself. Wait, let me slow down. But I'll tell you something. Much as I love Stacy and want him home, I can't help feeling sometimes like he was old enough to go off by himself. He's old enough to get back here by himself. Maybe that's just how it have to be. He ought to know we was going to worry. When I think, I get real angry sometimes at that boy. And I know I oughtn't. And why oughtn't you? He went off. Ain't told you where, ain't sent no word. Now that's what's really got me worried. Maybe he can't send no word. Papa's voice trailed off, and in its place came a sound I had not expected to hear. It was a strange, muffled sound, one I knew but had never heard from Papa. I trembled, frightened. For Papa, who was always so strong, was crying. Suddenly, the crickets and the katydids seemed louder, and the pounding of my heart louder than both. Uncle Hammer said nothing. Finally, Papa cleared his throat and was silent. After a long while, he spoke once more. Lord, Hammer, I wish I knew where he was. I can stay and we can go searching again. What about your job? It don't matter. No, No, I still feel the same way. It's better to wait and try to get some information first before I start running around out there again, not knowing where I'm going. I figured to ask some questions, find out more about them plantations. There was a break in his words, and when he spoke again, I could hardly hear him. I tell myself he's near 15 and that a lot of boys have to make it on their own time. They're his age. Then I think about all he don't know yet, and I get scared, real scared. David, I expect you was right. David, I expect you got a right to be scared, but you got to remember, you and Mary, y'all taught Stacy good. He's smart and he got good sense. I figure he'll be all right. Besides, maybe he just had to learn on his own what this life business is all about. Had hoped he wouldn't have to this soon. Well, that was his choice. Perhaps, but maybe he wouldn't have made it. I'd have been here for him to talk to. Mary blames me, about him leaving, and I can't blame her either. She told me over and over not to go away. Mary's upset. I know, but if I'd have stayed... Look here, David. Don't go faulting yourself and don't let Mary wear at you. You two, y'all got something special here. And Stacy going out, and Stacy going ought not spoil that. There's still Cassie, Christopher John, and Little Man to think about. Now, I ain't much good in talking about stuff like this, seeing I ain't never even had a wife, but I know y'all got too much to go laying blame. What I heard Mary say this afternoon wasn't coming from Mary. That was coming from a woman all torn apart with worry and fear. You listen to me, David, and get this here thing straightened out between y'all. You hear me now? I hear. And David, you need me to come looking again. You just call. Remember that. I remember. At breakfast the next morning, Papa looked tired as if he had not slept at all. He and Mama said nothing to each other during the entire meal. When breakfast was over and I had finished the dishes, I sat absently swinging on the front porch, thinking of the silence between them. As I stared out at the field, soggy with the day's continuing drizzle, Christopher John and Little Man rounded the house from the drive and joined me. What you doing? Little Man asked, disrupting the rhythm of the swing as he and Christopher John sat down. What it look like I'm doing? Little Man chose not to comment on this. Papa and Mama, they was fighting in the barn. They wasn't either fighting, objected Christopher John. They was just discussing. Well, seemed like fighting to me. I looked at Little Man. What they fighting about? Well, me and Christopher John was down by the smokehouse and we heard him. Mama, she said if Papa didn't go back to look for Stacy, then she was going to go her own self. But Papa, he said that was crazy. Wasn't no way she was going to find Stacy unless she went to near every cane field in the South. Then Mama, she said if Papa hadn't have gone back to the railroad, Stacy, he wouldn't have left looking for no job. She said that? She didn't mean it, though, continued Christopher John. She just upset, that's all. When she seen us and seen we heard, she looked real sorry. What'd she say? Told us to come back to the house. I sighed and looked out at the forest. I don't like it when Mama and Papa fight that way, said Little Man. Christopher John turned on him irritably. How many times I gotta tell you they wasn't fighting? Little Man allowed the question to hang a moment in the misty air before repeating. Well, sure seemed like fighting to me. There y'all are. Papa came across the stepping stones from the drive and climbed the steps. I was wondering where y'all gotten off to. He leaned against the post and immediately Christopher John hopped up. Papa, you want to sit down? No, thank you, son. This here post fine enough. As if to show it was fine enough for him too, Christopher John took up a similar position at the post opposite Papa. Papa, I said, you really ain't going back to look for Stacy? Baby, if I had any idea where Stacy was, I'd go get him this very minute. But I ain't. I got no idea at all, except that he's working the cane field somewhere. Now, as much as I hate it, we may have to just wait till we hear from him. And it seems to me, he knowing we'll be worried, he ought to be writing soon. None of us spoke, and he said, you think I don't know how y'all feel? We looked at him without answering. Got a great big empty spot that aches all the time and can't nothing feel except for Stacy to come home. Well, I know it, 'cause I got it myself. We all got it. We all part of one body in this family, and with Stacy gone, we just ain't whole. I know that. But till he do come back, we just going to have to keep on being strong, and we're going to have to support each other and stick together in this thing, 'cause we all going through the same hurt and worry. But Papa, I said, what if we don't hear from Stacy? Papa hesitated as if he did not want to answer my question. Just going to have faith, Cassie. That's all I can say. Faith Stacy says he's all right, and faith he's going to come home. Lord willing, that's the way it'll be. Now it's going to be hard living without him till he do come back, but we just going to have to try. Going to have to try hard. I had never heard Papa sound so tired. Papa, don't you think you ought to get some sleep? You said you didn't sleep so good last night. I will, Cassie girl, I will. But he didn't move from the porch. He stood there for some time, sharing the aching pain of loneliness with us. And when he finally did go, it was not into the house, but across the lawn to the road where he went into the forest alone. That night, I cried. All right, that's the end of chapter 10. Thank y'all for tuning in. Be back with another story time more of my soon. Peace.